Yeah, I'm loud. All right. Awesome. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. This is about how the sharing economy is impacting the insurance industry. And just so you're aware, I wanted to make sure this is expanded a little bit. Whoa.
There it is.
There we go. It'll be the sharing economy and even more so also the freelance economy, because I think they're tied in. So my name is Jacob Brody. I am the founding partner of Helpful Networks. We are an innovation consultancy and a venture investor as well. Previously, I co-founded a freelancer finance and insurance company called Benny, where we were basically producing quarterly tax tools for freelancers and selling them health insurance. And that's why they have me moderating this panel.
Awesome.
Isaac.
Good afternoon. So I'm Isaac Oates, the CEO of JustWorks. We are based in New York City, but we work with companies across the country, and we basically work with small and growing businesses. So think like 20, 30, 50 employees. And what we do is we help them get access to great benefits, compliance tools that they're not able to get by themselves, and so on. So we have grown really rapidly in the past couple of years, and I think that's because, as you get more and more new businesses and small businesses that need access to the great things that big companies have, we're able to help them with that.
I'm Jeff Oberstein. I'm the Chief Customer Officer at AIG for the consumer insurance businesses. I'm here today because I think we've got a very strong point of view about how important the sharing economy is today and how much more important it's going to become, and the need for the insurance industry to step up and change its perspective in terms of protecting against a series of things that most of the products that were built were not really built to protect for.
I'm Robin Smith. I'm CEO and co-founder of WeGoLook. We're an online crowdsourcing platform that features over 30,000 nationwide agents. We call them lookers, who we dispatch on demand. So we provide a lot of on-demand field services within the insurance industry. So kind of think of us as that contingent labor force helping to augment or supplement a carrier's current claims division or even underwriting agents out in the field. So we provide a lot of data capture, photos, measurements, video, drone footage, different things like that.
Awesome. So I wanted to start with Jeff. AIG, when we talked, you were bringing out a lot about how you guys have a decent-sized consumer business. What I know more is the reinsurance business and some of the commercial stuff. Where do you see the shared economy specifically fitting in within your consumer portfolio? What types of products?
Well, I think I'd just like to start by saying we talked about earlier today how the insurance industry was kind of the original information-based industry. It's also kind of the original sharing-based industry. And if you think about the fundamental purpose for insurance, it's to pool risk and to spread it across a large set of players who are able to absorb that, so that when catastrophe happens, it doesn't turn out to be a catastrophe for everyone involved. And so I feel like it's appropriate that we're talking about the sharing economy at an insurance conference, because I do feel like there's a need to step up and to kind of change the way that we are serving this emerging industry. On the consumer side, there's a whole set of unmet needs. People tend to not think about their assets in a personal use versus a business use. But if you look at the insurance contracts, it tends to be a rather clear divide. And so if you're someone who's renting out your home on Airbnb and you happen to cook breakfast for someone and they get ill, it's pretty clear that you're not going to be covered in your homeowner's policy. Similarly, a lot of the damage that's covered, that people might think is covered by someone breaking into their home while a person is staying there, it doesn't really match up well. And so what we've tried to do on the consumer insurance side is to find ways to more actively and affirmatively cover a set of things that most people feel like they're covered already, but aren't actually covered. So there's a product, for example, called Lex Home Share that affirmatively talks about for our high net worth customers, if someone uses your boat, for example, or if someone uses a set of things that they weren't really allowed to use when they're renting your home, that's actually covered in ways that you would expect it to be covered. And I think at AIG, we tend to think about our mission being to reduce fear in our clients and empower them to do the things that they want to do. If you look at the things that are standing in the way, there's a ton of fear that's out there, and that's why people, while the sharing economy is booming, it could be booming much more quickly and much stronger.
And that's something that WeGoLook is trying to solve, it seems, where you're trying to take the fear out of buying something that you haven't seen in person.
Absolutely.
So you work with eBay Motors, correct?
Correct. We are their inspection arm, yes.
So how do you find the consumer reacts in terms of, like, have you seen any data that says when a WeGoLook person goes and verifies this, that there's an increased conversion rate in terms of on the car sale side?
I don't know if we have any scientific data, but we definitely have consumers that tell us, they're able to actually validate that the asset exists and it's in its current condition versus what's online, and also, of course, verifying that the seller's real. But kind of to your point on the policyholder, what we're doing on the enterprise side, I wanted to kind of mention kind of how the sharing economy is touching the individual there. We're really helping speed up that entire process, the claims process. So you have this faster flow of information, which of course equals a faster flow of funds. If it's a commercial client, they're able to have that information to share with their customers as well. We are able to go out on demand and meet with them at their home or place of business, so that customer touch is much more personal and more convenient for them, so it's a better experience.
So the difference between an eBay Motors inspection versus an inspection for an insurance company, if I'm looking at a car, I say, great, the pictures look like they are. How do you do it scalably with an insurance company that's doing a lot of claims, a lot of processing, and how do you normalize the data?
Sure, so I wouldn't say that we normalize the data in a traditional sense. We more or less curate the data. So one of the things that we do, we have to make sure that all of this data and the reporting is similar and consistent. And that's one of the things that we do best this way. We're really a mobile technology company. So we utilize different types of tools to make sure that this data that's coming in is verified and proper before we deliver it to the client. And we do that with a variety of ways. So if you give me an inspection report that you're currently utilizing or a specific data points, you could give me 20 things you wanted us to answer today, along with 50 different types of media requirements, and we could put that into our platform, and it would be in the hands of all of our lookers nationwide tomorrow. They have to follow an online guide. It's kind of a training tool, but we can't technically call it training. I would say it's a survey. They have to pass with a certain proficiency rating. It's a model, and of course we have the tool tips, and different types of photos and data are required within the mobile app. And so all of that information together, along with the fact that our lookers, we've been doing this for 7 years, we have a pro team that's very used to our looks. And another thing, we really do 4 things. It's vehicles, property, heavy equipment, and then custom tasking, picking up documents. So whether you're a bank wanting to loan money on a car, or an eBay buyer, or an insurance carrier wanting post-accident vehicle photos, all of those data points are on vehicles. They're a little different, but we're able to capture that and then provide that back in a consistent manner.
Now, you guys have tens of thousands of employees and freelancers on your platform. What types of freelance sharing economy spending are you seeing? Because I am a very happy user of JustWorks who gets paid using it. So what other types of folks are getting paid?
Yeah, so we basically have 3 kinds of, we call them stakeholders on our platform. So there are vendors, there are contractors or freelancers, and then there are employees. And it's very interesting to sort of watch companies kind of like figure out who's who, and like the lines are pretty blurry, especially kind of like what you're getting at. Mm-hmm. For us, like I would say, I feel like you always have to sort of like start with the customer, and our like core customer in that group is really the employer. And so we have all of these employers we work with, and they have like a constellation of people that they work with. And so, we're making it really easy for them to pay them and make sure all of the sort of like reporting and all of that stuff is good. And so, in terms of like what we're seeing, like really the money is just going directly from the employer to the person it's being remitted to, but we do start to see sort of like people crop up across different customers, of course. So, you see like lawyers and accountants and like all of these people that a bunch of different companies might work with. And so there's like a network kind of building in that.
Yeah, so when are you going to start a marketplace with all these 1099s?
It's a great question. We've actually talked about for a really long time, like, what can we kind of do with this? Somebody on the last panel was just talking about how, like, you could have big data, but, like, having data and then using data are two different things. And, you know, I think for us, like, the entire concept of how our business works is we pool employees together and employers together to kind of get them access to, like, better healthcare and other kinds of benefits. But we haven't really started exposing that to our customers yet in, like, a big way. But I think as we continue to grow, like, that's something that could be really valuable.
You know, as you're talking about data, I'm wondering, how is AIG thinking of sharing economy data? Specifically, I can think of a number of ways you could use that to underwrite risk better.
Yeah, data is quite precious in the insurance industry, and in many cases, it's our clients who entrust the data to us. And so, what's very clear to us is that data only gets you so far. It's kind of the combination of data with other unique sources of information that make it useful, and you can kind of think about the kind of sensor information that comes through. Unless you're able to put it in the right kind of context and understand what that means, it's a pretty limited value. And so what we're looking for are ways that kind of to work with, especially on the commercial side, our clients to kind of safely share data, to bring it together in ways that are going to be quite meaningful. And so, you know, a use case, for example, is around the work that's been done in the workers' comp world, where because we've got access to huge amounts of information about how quickly people get back to health under different kinds of regime treatments, you know, we're not ourselves in the medical industry, but we learn a lot about what works and what doesn't work. And to be able to just derive those insights is enormously helpful for us, and it's something that we're using in our workers' comp business line to great effect. You can kind of broaden that as you think about, you know, data kind of coming together, and a company like AIG pulling that data and using it in ways that helps our clients and helps the industry. But there are a set of things that need to be solved, just like what I was talking about in terms of the product limitations. There are privacy concerns, there are competitive issues that need to be worked through. And I think with a number of kind of rather innovative partners, we're beginning to solve some of those things.
So in terms of, you know, you're getting a lot of data from the sharing economy for WeGoLook. How when you're working with someone like eBay versus an insurance client, what is like the relationship that you have with them? Is it more technical with an eBay where you're doing something on API and the insurance companies are into sort of proprietary systems, or is it more of is it more manual on the insurance side or the eBay side?
So on the eBay side, it's not connected via API right now. Everyone just they are hyperlinked over to our landing page on our website, so we're receiving that direct traffic. But the data there is very interesting because we're a pre-purchase service. They're very, very interested in this automobile or motorcycle, whatever type of vehicle it is. And so there are a lot of companies that want that kind of data for lead purposes, but we can also reach out to this customer as soon as we've completed the inspection and provide an affiliate partner service such as escrow.com, any type of financing, insurance, and maybe Jiffy Lube, different types of opportunities like that. But can I touch on something that Isaac mentioned, because it's very exciting in the sharing economy about the community? Being able to put different types of skill sets into our looker community. We're putting licensed drone operators, diesel mechanics, people that speak Mandarin. So if you have a task or a look that requires someone who's multilingual or has a specific certification, the platform can match it. So we are, the sharing economy, it's very exciting. Altogether, we are basically creating this different type of on-demand workforce with many different types of skill sets. It's exciting.
I mean, I just got like really excited about that for a second. Like, you know, we are, you know, as I mentioned, we're based in New York and we're basically engineers and support people and like that kind of thing. And we underwrite every business we work with for workers' comp, and we need to know what's going on with them. And like we're probably never going to be great at having 30,000 people that are out there, going across the country and looking at it. And, for us, it's like our need is to be great at kind of running like an inside operation and like all of those things. And so I think, having like the kind of infrastructure that you're creating is really exciting.
It is, that's why I had to mention it.
And how do you think about the sharing economy now where you're like, my core competency is X? Where do you sort of say with the sharing economy, I need to do that internally? What are the types of things that you feel comfortable saying, we'll outsource that to a partner because they're available, and where you're like, we're gonna cover that ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it has mostly to do with sort of like the customer experience and like what our end customer is going to see. And so things which is almost the opposite of what I just said, but this is a pretty specific example. So I would say things that we can outsource that customers don't see are great. I mean, the less like sort of core competencies we can focus on, I think the better. But for the ones where it's like sort of like a big part of our value creation, and so for us that is like certain kinds of underwriting, that is certainly like customer servicing and all of those things. Those are things we want to keep in-house, but something like managing a workforce of people that look totally different than the kinds of people that we employ, like that's like a great thing to outsource.
I think on that point, it's less about where you're sourcing the people from and what's the experience that you're providing. And if the core competency is to deliver a great end-to-end experience, how you curate that, I think increasingly matters a lot less, as long as you're curating it in a way that's creating the kind of feeling that you want for your customers. And so, we rely a great deal on highly trained people, especially as it relates to things like risk management and a series of other capabilities that help our clients avoid problems. For example, in our high net worth property insurance, we actually have our own wildfire protection unit that will go and protect homes that are in the midst of the wildfire's path, and spray them with foam so that they'll be standing when the fire passes. That's the kind of thing that we would unlikely outsource to someone because, when you need it, you absolutely need it and it needs to be provided it the right way. There are plenty of things that are a lot less time critical or a lot less, as long as they understand the degree to which, what's the experience that needed to be provided, we see huge opportunity to do that. And there are, some of the statistics about the number of people who will be freelancers over the next, 5 to 10 years. It's something, I think Fast Company had said it would be like 40% of the population would have some by 2020. That's not all that far off. And so it's kind of remarkable. And I think the companies that are able to draw on great expertise and to curate it in a way that creates the kind of customer experience that you're committed to, I think it offers huge opportunities for both better quality and more flexibility, and in some cases lower cost.
Now, we talk about the sharing economy a lot with like Airbnb, and we talk about taking our Uber, but the supply side of this, do you look at the Uber driver? Do you look at the Postmate, at all these, the supply side of these marketplaces? Do you look at that as a really great channel as well for selling insurance?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. As it relates to the sharing economy, the crowdfunding is still kind of a niche business, but there's another projection that would say, in the next 10 years, it would grow to be about $90 billion. And just for comparison's sake, it's about $50 to $60 billion of VC funding. So huge opportunity here. And it's one of those things where, this is in many ways, kind of the Wild West, in that these are small, unproven, unvetted companies. And so what we've done, this is another case where the trust in the system is what's really important. And so from a standpoint of trying to increase the trust in the system, we've partnered with a couple of these platforms to be able to offer an insurance policy that's similar to what we would provide in terms of errors and omissions or the directors and officers insurance that allows you to be protected if the money is used in ways that it wasn't intended for. So I talked before about AIG trying to reduce fear in our clients. I think the fear is such a idiosyncratic issue, that you need to figure out what it is that's causing fear. And in this case, what was causing fear was people not willing to participate because they felt like they weren't going to be protected. And this is an example where, you come up with a very specific problem that can address the broader fear that can really, I think, help improve the platform and allow these things to grow in the way that we see them to be possible.
So you're building a workforce of contingent labor. What are the points where they're saying, I need this product, or I'm afraid of what happens if this happens? Where are you finding that your 1099s are coming to you and saying, I need help fixing this, where you're sort of fixing this fear?
So our 1099s don't really have any fear. They want more business. They want more looks. They are always providing great feedback from the field on some tips that would make it even faster, more efficient. I would say where some of the things we have to kind of overcome would be more, say, on the insurance carrier side, or because they don't know who these people are that are touching their policyholders, right? We talk to them and let them know they're not aliens from another planet. We talk to them about our vetting and onboarding process. And how we go through that, the proficiency screenings, things like that. But part of what we do, we always take a beta and do different types of projects. So if you had something in Montana, you wanted different types of services you wanted to go out and start providing, we always beta test in a difficult area, and we know if we can provide the correct data, because that's important to have the right data, not just quickly, right? We're able to, if we're very proficient in North Dakota, Montana, then we can do it in any metro area. So that's always a good way to kind of overcome those fears from a large enterprise client that this will actually work, and they get feedback from their policyholder that way. So we beta test almost every new schema.
On the sort of 1099 side, what I always found when talking to Uber drivers, would they say, whatever will prevent me from getting a penalty. Is there anything else that you found, anything that people have proactively come to you say, whether it's taxes, insurance, or something like that in the sharing economy on the supply side, that they're really worried about?
Well, sometimes people don't want to go over that $600 a year income. They get really worried about it. And then we have the other people that want a whole lot more because they don't want to have to file taxes on that contracting side. But other than that, there's not really any issues from the lookers. They're excited about it. We have a lot of great engagement, social engagement, and they just want more business.
So if you were going to provide your clients with sort of sharing economy, like connections into your service, are there any sort of like integrations that you would look at, whether it be an accounting marketplace, a legal marketplace, or anything like that would fit into your business?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest ones that we kind of see coming up that people may or may not, I mean, every freelancer is so different, and they have like such different circumstances. So unlike being an employer where you're like the large part of the pie, I think if you have somebody who is a contractor or whatever, a lot of times you're just like a sliver. But, healthcare comes up a lot. People need healthcare, and obviously there are options out there that there didn't used to be, but I think they're still trying to figure out what is the right thing. I think there's a lot of uncertainty about like how to do it correctly. I think tax filing and sort of like keeping everything together is like the other big one. So if you are receiving a lot of sort of, non-employee compensation from like different services, then, you as a freelancer, you are running your own business at that point. And so, you need sort of like the infrastructure to keep track of that and make sure that you're doing stuff right. But I would say like those are the two areas that we sort of hear about from people.
And then in terms of the sharing economy, have you been approached by any platforms that want to actually turn into brokers themselves, marketplaces or anything of that nature?
Yeah, look, we distribute our insurance products through all kinds of, any manner of platforms. I think the degree to which it becomes, commonplace is much greater in some of the more standardized products. So if you look at compulsory products in various places around the world, auto insurance and certain mortgage insurance and other things, those are the things that are more susceptible, I think, to platform-oriented opportunities. If you look at the bulk of AIG's business, it tends to be in some of the more unusual risks. that I think make it harder to work in a platform because it's not as standardized and as ready-made.
In terms of with sharing economy companies that you work with, eBay, what is the marketplace that you say, I want to be on there and sort of powering their lack of fear for their customer?
The marketplace or the industry? Obviously, the insurance industry is big for us, also banking and financial, but another marketplace, eBay's pretty large. We're working with eBay UK right now to launch there, but obviously an auto trader, cars.com, different types of, any type of consumer marketplace or auction platform. We work a lot with Ritchie Brothers, which is the world's largest global heavy equipment auction platform. And that's a good attestment of some of the different types of things we can do. So we do a lot of off-lease forklift inspections. But talking about the technology piece, the great thing about technology is no matter what kind of platform you have, you're able to really integrate all these other tools. I know Smart Picture 3D's here, Smart Picture technology. We can actually incorporate the mobile target technology into what we're doing now. And also for eBay, Chrome vehicle data, you can really tie and integrate with anything to provide a full service report and information on an asset for your customer.
And then in terms of, for you guys, you're sitting on all this data, but a lot of that is proprietary of your clients. How do you think about being a source of data, but also thinking about the privacy and serving the first client that pays you?
Yeah, I mean, for us, certainly there's sort of like the ADP jobs report out there, and so there's aggregated data, and I think being able to provide insight. The other customer of our data, which is like maybe a little counterintuitive, is the government. So a huge amount of what we're doing is like shipping data in really kind of convoluted forms to the government. But I believe over time, like we can actually become sort of a useful source of information for them. But I mean, we handle incredibly sensitive information, and so, taking care of the people that pay us is absolutely the first priority.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Jeff, Robin, Isaac. Thank you so much for coming. Everybody have a great day.
Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jacob.